My special candle. Good morning and welcome home. There is in this place the possibility of healing, repair, of making things right within ourselves, between us and the wider world. We gather around this light of hope as we share this time together. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so.
Thank you, Ashanti. I always love your openers, and the sound of those bells is so beautiful. It's very centering. The world could be falling apart, and just the sound of those bells is like, okay, there's just a moment. Yeah, very calming moment of peace. Welcome, everyone, to Wedgwood on this beautiful, glorious, sunshiny Sunday morning. We've had a lot of rain this past week, and it's just wonderful to look out the window and see blue skies. It's a little chilly, but the blue skies just do something for my spirit, and it does something for my spirit to see all of you on this Sunday morning. So welcome. And we'll go ahead and get started. We have a few announcements and upcoming events this morning. Oh, sorry. Now, first up, we'll do our prelude, and then we'll have our announcements.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
How much more morning can this human soul take? How many more times can this little heart break? How much more morning can this human soul take? How many more times can this little heart break? Oh, I'm singing for peace, I'm singing for freedom, singing for you and for me to believe in hope for the world, yeah. For every nation, yeah. I'm singing for love and all that it stands for. We would stand up and look out for our neighbors. We are all one. We are all one. I'm singing for justice. Just label me a human being, and let that be the only thing that everyone sees. Everyone sees.
Beautiful. What a great way to set the tone for the day on this beautiful Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Sunday service. I've been thinking a lot about him. We were reflecting on him and the civil rights movement, both that happened in the 60s, as well as civil rights issues that we are facing today. And I think that song was beautiful, Ashanti. Thank you for picking it out for us to start our service with. We have a few announcements and upcoming events this morning. Next Sunday, our very own Ryan Davis will be speaking on thinking spiritually. It's going to be a really great talk. We know it's going to be powerful, so make sure to join us. And then the final Sunday, Melba will be back from Canada. We know she's having a wonderful time, but we're always so happy when she comes back to us, to her, Wedgwood family. And Melba will be speaking on living in mystery. Our social justice book club is off to a great start. They had a first great meeting, and our next meeting is Thursday, January 18th. We'll be discussing the first chapter of the book, The 100 Years War on Palestine. So if you haven't started reading it yet, that's absolutely fine. There's still time. And you don't have to be a member of Wedgwood to join the book club. It's open to the whole community, and it's free. Just hop on Zoom. The link's on our website as well as all our social media pages. It's a really powerful book and a very timely topic. So join us. And membership, we encourage folks to join Wedgwood. If you have checked us out and explored us, please consider becoming a member. We have a lot of things happening in the life of the church, and a lot of decisions as far as our direction will be made in the next year or so. And to have a say in that, you have to become a member to be able to get a vote. And we want to make sure as many people have a voice in the process as possible. So if you are interested in joining us, just let the church know. It's a very simple Google form, and that's it. We don't make you take a class or anything. Yeah, so please consider joining Wedgwood and joining us on our journey. So, we really try to give back to the community and partner and support other organizations who do the same. And the Latin American Coalition and Refugee Support Services and the Human Rights Campaign and the Freedom Center are all coming together to do a service project. The day of service, which is tomorrow, but I will say this will be extending beyond tomorrow. They're collecting diapers and food and all sorts of things. There's an Amazon wish list. It's been posted on our Facebook page as well as our Facebook group. If you'd like to donate to the cause, there's just so many economic, humanitarian, and political issues and turmoil that's been happening and around the world in places like like Haiti and Cuba and the Ukraine and Venezuela and Gaza and all these places. And a lot of people have been displaced. And so this is just a small way for us to kind of help support and give back. So if you're interested in learning more, we put information on our Facebook pages and our Facebook group. So please check that out. And our friends over at Hearts United for Good will be having a blanket drive. It is chilly out, and they are very low on blankets. They have foil blankets, but they need like blankets for the folks in the community that they serve that are experiencing homelessness and housing insecurity. They've got a wish list on their website, but they've asked us to help spread the word. And so if you have any extra blankets lying around, please consider donating because it's chilly out there. And connect with us. We are on Instagram. Please like and follow our Facebook page. Even if you're in our Facebook group, please like and follow our Facebook page. The more likes we get on that helps the algorithm for when we do boosted posts and things to help spread the word. So please like our Facebook page as well. You can also visit our website. You can also sign up for our newsletter and email us or call us. We are here and would love to connect with you. And we are here to help. Melba is our ministerial coordinator, and she is currently in Canada. I am our community outreach coordinator. Ashanti is our music coordinator, and Ryan is our technology coordinator. And as you are so moved, we ask that you please consider giving to help support the life of Wedgwood. We have a lot of really exciting things planned and a lot of things that we would like to do, and we need your financial support to be able to do that. So please consider giving as you are so moved. We appreciate it. Okay. Next up, we have Ashanti, who will be leading our extravagant welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome home. We are all welcome here. Welcome to a church that works for peace, justice, equality, and the care of Mother Earth. We are all welcome here. An extravagant welcome to you because of your gender identification, sexual orientation, ethnicity, economic situation, physical and mental challenges, doubting or believing, being depressed or full of joy. We are all welcome here. We are a community of curious, creative, spiritual seekers striving to learn and embody the way of Jesus and other spiritual leaders.
We are
are
all
welcome
welcome here.
here. And like Jesus, we focus on the plundered and the marginalized as we try to address the major issues of our day. We
are
are
all
all welcome
welcome
here. And one of the ways we seek to heal the world and ourselves is through sharing parts of our personal story.
We are all welcome here.
Thank you so much for all of that. And now I guess we're going to have our celebrations and concerns.
Yes, yes, thank you, Ashanti. Yes, so we talked quite a bit this morning during our coffee and conversations section on things that are weighing in our hearts and things that we want to learn more about. What's happening in Gaza is horrible. What's happening in Yemen is horrible. What's happening in Venezuela and around the world. There's a lot of horrible things happening, but there's also people speaking up, which is incredible, and sometimes from the most unexpected and ironic places. But it's been beautiful to see, and that's certainly something that has been warming my heart. But here at Wedgwood, we always take time to provide space for folks to lift up anything they want to celebrate, as well as lift up anything that they might have a concern about and want to share with the group. So if anyone has any celebrations or concerns.
I would like to ask for prayers for my children's father, who is still in the hospital fighting for his life with a brain infection. He's had a second craniotomy, and so far the outlook isn't sounding really good, but we have hope and we ask for your prayers. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
What's his name?
His name is Frank. Thank you.
Well, my grandson, Gavin, he's 7 years old. He's in the Cub Scouts, and he was at the Martin Luther King Day parade yesterday. And I was really proud. I didn't get to see him because I was in the wrong spot, but he was there and I was there in spirit, just at the wrong end of the parade. But he was there, but his mom took pictures so I can see it. And I was just so proud for him to experience this, to be in the parade, and he got his Cub Scout uniform on, and of course he knows that we're proud of him and that he was doing a good thing, and he was in the front of his group too. So that was really nice. I can send you guys a picture. So I'm just celebrating Gavin for them, just having a good life, and thankful that they have a good life and they're safe and provided for. So it's just a beautiful thing to see my baby from a baby, and now he's 7 years old and he's just growing, and just a beautiful soul, So that's nice to know.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Ashanti. I'd love to see those pictures. Does anyone else have any celebrations or concerns?
I do have concern of the political process for this year. We do our duty and we go out and we vote, and like Ryan was saying, you send your letters and you send your emails to your representatives and all of that, and we do our part. But even though we do our part, sometimes it still doesn't turn out the way we hope that it will turn out. So I hope it's a good year of good progress.
Yeah, amen to that. All right, well, as you are so moved, please take some time to, if you reflect, if you pray, if you meditate, just kind of think on the things that were said during this time, as well as things that maybe weren't said, but still need space for. Amen. Well, it is my privilege and honor to introduce my friend Ashanti, who came up with the whole service today, but is also going to be sharing her message on freedom. So without further ado, I'll just let you have the floor, Ashanti. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're talking about freedom because that was one of the key fights that Martin Luther King fought for. He fought for a lot of different things, but it was basically freedom, because freedom represents a lot of different things when you can have your freedom. So Martin Luther King would have been 95 years old tomorrow if he had still been with us. Today we celebrate and remember the life of the amazing life and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was born 95 years ago tomorrow. His vision, his words, his actions, his service to the Black community helped drive the civil rights movement of the 1960s, which was a tumultuous time. It was a tumultuous time. I was born in the 60s, so I was a baby and I didn't know what was going on, but it was a tumultuous time. There's nothing that I can really tell you about this great man that you don't already know. As we were talking earlier this morning, we found some tidbits of information, and Susan found some tidbits of information that we might not have known, about Dr. Martin Luther King on a personal level. But there's nothing more that I can really tell you about this man that you don't already know. And we all know that he fought for freedom and equality peacefully. So I'd like to focus today on freedom, that word freedom. And I put my quotes up. Dr. King's legend helped inspire countless radicals, revolutionaries, and activists in pursuit of equality. Pretty much his dream, what he felt the world should be like. And as Black people, fighting for freedom is a way of life. Most of us were born into institutional racism and colonization. We don't really know the real freedom because we're still marginalized, disenfranchised, and treated as second-class citizens in this world. But our resistance comes from leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King, although he wasn't the only leader that fought for the liberation of Black people, but we're talking about Dr. Martin Luther King today. So our resistance comes from leaders like Dr. King, who sacrificed his life for the collective Black liberation. In these politically dark times such as these, it's important to remember our ancestors and what they've done and what they've gone through and what they were able to encounter. The ancestors who came before us, and celebrate their existence and draw upon their strength. My question today is, what is freedom? Freedom can mean a lot of different things for different people. Each person will have their own perspective of what freedom is, depending on their history, depending on their frame of reference, depending on their experience. A person that came from Vietnam or another war-torn country will have a different perspective of freedom. I'm going to give you some perspectives of freedom, and I'd like to hear from you what you think freedom is to you. Freedom is the power or right to act, speak, and change as you want, without hindrance or restraint. Freedom is often associated with liberty and autonomy and sense of giving oneself their own laws, sort of like being the boss of you. Make your own laws, decide on, what is good and what's right, and what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. It's about having options. Freedom is about being able to choose how you want to live your life and being able to change your mind and choose a different path. Freedom isn't just about living in the moment. It's about the possibilities of the future. There's 5 rights in the First Amendment: freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom for assembly, and freedom for petition. My question again, are we truly free? The first hopes of freedom, we're going to go back in history now. And there was the first signs of freedom, the first hopes of freedom was back on September 22nd of 1862. Well, Lincoln, President Lincoln at that time, issued an executive order declaring that the enslaved people in the rebellious Confederate States were legally free. However, this would not take effect until the stroke of midnight of the next midnight of the new year. And this was the beginning of what they call watch night services. It dates back to December 31st of 1862, when many Black Americans gathered in churches and other venues, waiting for President Abraham Lincoln to sign the Emancipation Proclamation into law, freeing those still enslaved in the Confederacy. Waiting, waiting, waiting for freedom. So they still do that today. I've been to midnight services, but didn't know where it came from. So I was sort of smiling when I found out, oh, so that's where that came from. You know, how things happen and it just carry on, but you never know the origination of them, you know. So that's where it started, from the Emancipation Proclamation, where the enslaved people were standing by and just ready to celebrate for their freedom. But again, the question is, are we truly free? The First Amendment says there's freedom of religion. I do not see that in this country. We had an incident around Thanksgiving where there was, I think the gentlemen were Muslims, and they called a big ruckus because they were Muslims coming to an interfaith service. So there really isn't freedom of religion. There really isn't really freedom of speech. You can say what you want to say, but there might be repercussions for it. So I wanted to ask maybe one of you shortly, briefly, what do you think freedom is? What is your perspective of freedom? How do you see freedom? I see freedom as one of these that says I'm able to do what I want to do, change my mind, take care of my body the way I want to, live the way I want to, go where I want to. That's how I see a freedom. The possibilities of the future. Where do you, what does freedom mean to you? What is your perspective? Anyone?
Yeah, I have a perspective on it. So, like, you know, I'm a member, not only am I a woman, which comes with its own challenges in this world, but I'm also a member of the LGBTQ community, and I feel you, Ashanti. Sometimes it really does feel like we're not free. We have so far to go. And so for me, freedom is being able to do what I want with my body without the government telling me what to do, who I can marry, who I can love, how I can live my life. I've always been rebellious that way. I mean, I don't even like my own parents telling me what to do. So I certainly don't like it when the government feels like they have the right to tell me what to do, because in this day and age, there's not, I think there's an agenda behind it that is hell-bent on taking away freedoms because they only want you to have the freedoms that they want for you. And that's not actual freedom. So just my two cents.
Exactly. I agree, Liz. Does anyone else want to give me your perspective?
I like Janis Joplin's song. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to do.
Say that again, please.
Freedom is just another word for nothing left to do. Janis Joplin.
Yeah, that's a great lyric. Yeah, it does feel like there's a lot left for us to do still.
Yeah. There is a lot to do. Anyone else?
I think too that you can't talk about freedom without talking about economics. And I think Dr. King took took this on increasingly as he aged. If you don't have sufficient income and a sufficient job, your freedom is so restricted. You can't eat what you want. You can't take care of your children. You hate going to work, but you have to go to work. So you can't really define being free unless you have some level of economic self-sufficiency.
You're right, Tomas. That's another angle to look at it too. If you don't have enough to provide, then I'm not free. I can't get the food. I can't go get the food. I can't feed the children. I can't do what I need to do to feel free and provide it for you. That is another perspective. Anyone else? Well, thank you for those. Thank you for your words. Well, I'd like to talk about now Dr. Martin Luther King's words of freedom. Wars have been fought for it. Treaties and pacts have been formed to ensure it. Men, women have sacrificed everything for the chance to experience it. That it is freedom. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote in the 1963 letter from the Birmingham jail that freedom is never given voluntarily by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. You must demand it, for it will not be given freely. Dr. King also believed that liberty most often comes to those who petition for it peacefully. He spoke of his dream of racial equality and justice with all individuals who have the opportunity to live in freedom and harmony. King's dream was for a society free from racial discrimination and oppression, where people of all races could come together in unity and equality. I ask you, have we seen that today? There's a lot of people that don't have what they need to have. There's, like you say, there's food insecurity, housing insecurity, healthcare insecurity. Sometimes the women are not safe in their environments. The children don't have food on the weekends if they're not in school. So we're still fighting for those things in 2024, in this 21st century, as we keep pushing on, trudging on. But we are thankful for Dr. Martin Luther King's courage and for him stepping up in a time that people were stepping down and hiding. We were talking earlier during coffee and conversation. I said personally, I don't know if I will be able to step up during that time. I don't want to go out there where there's the police are going to hit you with a billy club, or have the German shepherds fight you, or water hose down, or even worse, come burn down your house. I don't know if I'm that kind of person. I don't think I am. So Martin Luther King and his amazing, courageous, God-fearing, fearless man to come out in the 1960s, 1950s, and say the things that he said, outspoken and bombings. I mean, to me, that's an amazing man. And God picks those human beings for a particular job. Martin Luther King was picked for that particular job at that particular time. And he took the assignment seriously and literally and sacrificed himself. And as you said, Susan, before that we were talking during the coffee and conversation, that he had a strong woman behind him, in front of him, and beside him. Coretta, we're going to have to do a story on her. Every great man, they got a great woman behind it. Sometimes you see the woman, sometimes you don't see a woman, but she's there. Barack Obama had a great woman beside him. He did great things. But we haven't had a man like Dr. Martin Luther King since Dr. Martin Luther King. One of a kind, once in a lifetime kind of man. He spoke of his dream of racial equality and justice, where all individuals have the opportunity to live in freedom and harmony. King's dream was for a society free from racial discrimination and oppression, where people of all races could come together in unity and equality. Just had to read that again. He organized and led marches for the Black Americans, the right to vote, desegregation, labor rights, and other basic civil rights that everybody should have. Basic, just the basic: housing, food, safety, warmth, basic job, healthcare, just the basics that every human being should have. You got to fight for it. And then when they say they give it to her, we gave you health care. You have health care, yeah, but he's got to sit in the emergency room for 10 hours and then die there. That's not health care. That's not freedom. I should be free to go to the emergency room and get cared for and get the medicine, get whatever I need to get better, get stitches, whatever it is, go get tests. I should be able to do that. Shouldn't have to fight for it. Shouldn't have to have people dying in the emergency room. Martin Luther King is an amazing man, a courageous man, a God-fearing man. But he didn't do this fight all by himself. No man could do it all by himself, And he had many, many people behind the scenes, in front of the scenes that are helping him out. And just a few of the people that helped him out was Ralph Abernathy Sr. He's a civil rights activist and a Baptist minister. Stokely Carmichael, who changed his name later on to Kwame Ture, a prominent organizer in the movement in the United States and the global Pan-African movement. Lyndon Johnson, John F. Kennedy, Fred Shuttlesworth, which is another civil rights activist and minister in Alabama. And as I found out this morning, that civil rights activist, Brother Bayard Rustin, was always in the scene, behind the scenes, working with Dr. Martin Luther King. So there's probably many, many more people that was, I call them freedom fighters, that were with Dr. Martin Luther King at that time. You can't do this work alone. We can't do it alone, as we all know, as we talked about earlier. I like to ask the people here, who are some of today's freedom fighters? I like to know who you feel are some of today's freedom fighters. Like I said, we don't have a man that's like Dr. Martin Luther King, but we do have a lot of people that are doing their part and being courageous in this time. So I like to know who you feel are some of our freedom fighters. We even have local freedom fighters. We got a lot of local freedom fighters. And all those local freedom fighters in each individual state add up. So who are some of our freedom fighters here in 2024, 2023?
Yeah. There's a couple that come to mind for me, and obviously it's not exhaustive because they're like you said, there's so many, but Jon Stewart comes to mind. He's a comedian, feels like a very reductive term for him, but he was on the Daily Show for a long time, but he is actually a very powerful proponent for civil rights and spoken out for a very long time against injustices around the world. He's very big on like veterans' rights, and he's a Jewish man that spoke out against the injustices committed against Palestinians way before it was even acceptable to do so. And it's still touching now, but he's never been afraid to speak up. And, as a white man, I think it's really important for people of privilege to do that. Gabor Mate is another one. Erica Hart is another freedom fighter. We still have folks like Angela Davis around doing the work. But this is what gives me hope, because we do have so many of those folks around still doing the work. And I would say Cameron Pruitt too.
I was thinking of that too.
Cameron is just incredible. Cameron's gonna be president one day.
I love him.
I do too. And Bishop Rawls, yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else has some people that you feel are our freedom fighters for today? Go ahead, Miss Laura.
Hey, I'd like to recognize Reverend William Barber.
Yeah.
I think he does a tremendous amount of work, both locally and nationally, for freedom.
Yes. He's in the news lately because of his movie situation, going to the movies. As I'm saying, just going to the movies. I just want to talk maybe briefly about that because that is a civil rights situation. Tell me his name again. I know is it Dr. Barber or
Yeah, Dr.
it's
Barber.
okay.
Yeah, Dr.
Reverend
Reverend
Doctor.
William
Okay.
Barber.
So his situation was that he went to the movies and he has some type of arthritis, bad arthritis, or something in his body that is painful. So he has to have a special chair so he can enjoy the movie. So I guess where the chair was, or they didn't want it to have the chair in there, and they literally called the police to remove him from the movie because they didn't want his special chair there. I mean, they could have did something else. They could have, accommodated him, maybe not sit here, but maybe you could sit over here and safer over here. I mean, it seemed like it was a very simple situation if you had the right mindset you could have had that done before the movie started. Oh no, sir, I'm sorry. You can use that chair, but you can move. You just have to put it here for safety, for safety reasons or fire, reasons why, safety reasons. But they didn't do that. They literally called the police and the fire department to tell him to leave. So now he has the case out. So again,
I would add Representative Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib, both of who have said very courageous things and suffer from daily death threats to them, their families, and their staff.
yes.
And Ilhan Omar as well, Cori Bush.
Corey.
So there's a group in the Congress that are putting their lives on the line to try to fight for what they believe in.
Thank you. So we have to remember those nationally and locally, and even we have heroes and freedom fighters in our families, So we need those freedom fighters to continue on and to continue the fight.
Yeah.
And as you know, as we mentioned before, that this is an election year, 2024, and it's some scary times ahead. We must continue the good fight, and we have to fight for the women's rights. We have to fight for abortion rights. We have to fight for parental rights, voting rights, fair housing, health care. Literally, we're fighting for our lives at this time because during this year, we can't let certain people back in because we don't know what that's going to do for the next 4 years. So this is very important time. Didn't want to get political on us, but it is part of the fight because we do have to get out there and make that change and do our part. And always possible. We can do our part politically. We can do our part locally. We can do our part personally. We can do our part. It doesn't have to, I don't have to be like Dr. Martin Luther King and so big and so courageous, but yet on a small scale, I can still help up with the homeless. I can participate in the marches that we have here in Charlotte. I can help the homeless. I can help women and children on my part, in my little small corner of the world. So just wanted to take this time to remember amazing brother, Dr. Martin Luther King, and all that he has done and how courageous he was, and know that he's a part of us, part of our history, and that we too can take pieces of him and be that courageous in different ways. May not be like him and so courageous and so bold, but we can be bold in our own personal way. I'd like to also give you some quotes for Dr. Martin Luther King, although he has many quotes. It's amazing. I love his voice. So inspiring. We must come to see that at the end, we seek is a society at peace with itself, a society that can live with its conscience. And I don't think this society, this nation can live with its conscience. And that's why they try to cover up the lies, because it's not a good look, So the truth comes out, well, you don't look too good when the truth comes out. So they have to hide it, hide the books. Don't read this book. Don't do this. Don't do that. The truth might come out. So that means you got work to do. If you got a conscience and you can't deal with the truth, you got some work to do. True peace is not merely the absence of tension. It is the presence of justice. So let us continue to fight the good fight and let freedom ring. I thank you all for listening to my presentation to commemorate and celebrate the King, Martin Luther King, who is a king, an amazing man in our history that they cannot change. They can't take that away. That one's too big. You can't hide all the truth about Martin Luther King did, you know. So that we have. And so I like to end this presentation with my song called, is it time for that? Yes, yes. Called Rise Up. And you could rise up can mean a lot of different things. Rise up means you rise up and realize what you have to do. Rise up and take action. Rise up and fight. Rise up and realize. Stay woke. Just rise up. Rise up. When you're sitting down, you're sort of like, you know, at a standstill. Not ready for the world. When you rise up, you stand up tall like a soldier. So listen to the words. I hope that it inspires you. Thank you so much. And so our benediction is, let me just get it real quick. Can you still hear me? Yeah. Benediction is the poem titled Freedom by Langston Hughes. Freedom will not come today, this year, nor ever through compromise and fear. I have as much right as the other fellow has to stand on my own 2 feet and on the land. I tired so of hearing people say, let things take their course. Tomorrow is another day. I don't need my freedom when I'm dead. I can't live on tomorrow's bread. Freedom is a strong seed planted in a great need. I live here too. I want my freedom, just as you. We extinguish this flame, but we keep the light in our hearts with the message of love and justice, and take it outside of these walls to the world in which we live in until we see each other again. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so. Now go in peace.